When you move to Australia, you assume the beach is the easy part. Sun, sand, maybe a bit of surfing. What more is there to learn? I thought that too, until I rocked up to the beach in Surfer's Paradise, walked straight past the signs, ignored the flags, and I didn't even know what a rip current was. I'm not exaggerating there. If I didn't have Aussies with me, I might have drowned that day. Turns out the Australian beach has a completely different rule book to anything I'd experienced in Europe, and nobody hands it to you. So I'm going to. So here's 12 things you must never do at an Australian beach. Grab a cuppa. Let's get into it. Hey mate, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Sam, a British actor documenting my journey of rebuilding life in gorgeous Australia. Number 1. Never swim in a rip current. The British assumption here is that rough water means strong waves. However, we're not brought up to recognize invisible channels that can completely sweep you out. These strong currents of water are invisible, they pull you sideways, and they're often known as rip currents, or rips, as a lot of Aussies will say. So what do you do if you get caught in a rip current? Well, royallifesaving.com.au says, stay calm and don't panic. That's really important. You don't want to exhaust yourself. Float on your back and float with the rip. It may carry you back to shore. Signal for help by raising one arm and call out to attract attention. Wait to be rescued. It does say if you're a strong swimmer and not tired, try to swim parallel to the shore or towards the breaking waves to return to shore, but never try to swim against the rip. You'll get tired and exhaust yourself. This was one of the first things that my Aussie wife taught me when we first met in Japan, of all places. She told me about these rip currents and I'd never heard of them at all whatsoever, and she said never swim against it. That's how people drown, sadly. Now, I have heard the odd story about this in the UK with mates who've gone to Cornwall or Devon and they've gone surfing or something, but it's still never something that we get taught at schools. It's never something that your relatives will teach you when you go to the beach, and I really think it should be. That's a lovely flat white. Now, one thing that really surprised me about Australia is when I first moved here, so many Aussies would give me some really helpful tips and guidance on how to spot a rip and what to do if you get caught in one, which is just lovely that from the get-go, Aussies want to help you and make sure you're safe. But even after being explained this a few times, I still didn't fully know how to spot one. The royallifesaving.com.au article really helped me out on this. They said, deeper dark coloured water with fewer or no breaking waves, discoloured brown water and foam on the surface beyond the breaking waves, rippled water and debris floating out to sea. And the more you start going to the beach in Australia, the easier it is you'll find to spot them. You'll be more sensitive to it. Every Aussie will tell you the safest way to avoid being caught in a rip is either don't go in the sea or swim in between the flags, which very elegantly links me on to number 2, never swim outside the flags. By the way, if you're enjoying this video at all, give the video a little like if you feel like it. I hate asking. The British assumption is that flags are for days when you can't go in the sea or when there's jellyfish. But the Australian reality here is that they put yellow and red flags up to show you specifically the spot you should be swimming in, and you shouldn't be swimming outside of that. Don't be surprised if you swim outside the flags and the lifeguards are like whistling you to come back in. They might even go out to check if you're okay. So a lot of the popular beaches will be patrolled by qualified lifeguards. I would say, some of the best in the world being Aussie. Now in the UK, you don't really see on any of our beaches zones that you can swim in. It's kind of just like a free-for-all. And a lot of the life-saving communities in the UK are volunteer-based and they're charities, and they rely on things like donations to keep going. So I don't care if you were the best swimmer in your class at school. I don't care if you're an Olympic swimmer, okay? The Australian sea is a different breed. Don't swim outside the flags. You're not stronger than water. Now, number 3 is something that some people might be very tempted to do, but never poke blue bottle jellyfish. Right, I know this one sounds stupid, but the British assumption is, oh, a bright blue jellyfish, how bad can it be? Or, genuinely, the first time I saw one of these, I thought it was a blue plastic bag from the supermarket. But the Aussie reality is that blue bottles, they sting really badly. Anyone who's been stung by one will tell you, and they wash up in huge numbers. Also, further north, you have to be worried about things like box jellyfish and irukandji. These can be genuinely life-threatening, and if you get stung by one of these, you need to call the emergency services ASAP. Now, I have seen some Australians pick blue bottles up before, and I've thought, oh, that's pretty cool. But trust me, you and I, we do not have that legendary blood in us to wrangle blue bottle jellyfish. I'm sure they don't love it themselves, so just don't risk it. Anyway, number 4 is something that hardly anyone talks about these days. Never drink on the beach. The British assumption is a couple of beers, absolutely fine. I mean, as soon as the sun comes out for our annual 4 days a year, everybody is hitting their local beach and getting the bevies in. But the Aussie reality is that some people, Brits especially, get so drunk, places like Bondi Beach, places like Main Beach, Gold Coast, they'll start drinking beers or something stronger, they'll go in the water, and then they're in real danger. Because let's be honest, if you struggle to walk when you've had a few too many, can you imagine what you're like in the sea? And then a rip current takes you? It's a nightmare. And sadly, it's a huge contributor to some of the drowning statistics. So look, you have to know yourself well. If the beach allows you to drink and you know you can have 1 or 2 and you'll be absolutely fine, cool. But I would say just don't risk it. Have some fun on the beach, and then you can go to the pub after, well away from the dangerous sea. Not to sound like an overprotective parent throughout this video. Now, number 5 caught me completely off guard as a Brit. Don't use a charcoal barbecue without checking first. Now, the portable, disposable charcoal barbecue are a quintessentially British beach day thing. As soon as that sun's out and you go to Weston-super-Mare or you go to Gilly Beach in Falmouth and you get the little disposable barbecue on and you throw a few sausages on, everyone's having a great time, and generally it's acceptable a lot of places you go in the UK. Now, it's complicated in Australia. The continent is so big that there's so many different local council rules that you have to check with them first. But many beaches around Australia don't let you use disposable charcoal barbecues or let you have open fires unless it's like completely contained. So honestly, if you're not sure, it's better to be safe than sorry and just not use them. And if you are allowed to use a personal barbecue on the beach, it's probably a better idea to use a portable gas barbecue. It's just a bit safer. By the way, I've actually got some really exclusive episodes on my Patreon. So if you wanted to see my whole back catalogue of these more exclusive, intimate videos, then there's a QR code there, or it's in the top of the link in the description below. Which very smoothly leads me on to number 6. Don't light an open campfire on the beach. The British assumption, lighting a little campfire on the beach to toast some marshmallows and sing some songs like Wonderwall, Oasis on guitar, is absolutely fine, especially if you're in Cornwall. Again, check with your local council. This doesn't apply to the entire continent. But do you know why I've put it on this list to basically try to never do it? I've heard loads of stories from Australians who have lit an open campfire the night before on the beach with all their mates. They're having a great time and they think they're doing the sensible thing by dousing it in buckets of sand. And so they're like, great, we've put it out, we've put sand on it. And then the next morning when kids are on the beach, they'll run or crawl over where that campfire used to be. They'll get really badly burnt. And it will be a horrendous experience, because I didn't realize until now that sand traps the heat in. So you think you're putting it out, but actually all of that hot, burning stuff below is still very, very hot even the next day, and people burn themselves and then have to go to hospital. If you are allowed to do an open campfire on the beach, then please don't just use sand, use water and other extinguishing fluids. Now, the next one you probably will get judged for if you do this. Number 7, never litter. Now, in the UK, also an obvious one. It's definitely not as clean and tidy as Australia though. And Aussies are doing something right here. They're really looking after their environment, but Aussies take it super seriously at the beach. If you litter on the beach, cigarette ends, glass bottles, disposable barbecues like meat packets, expect an Aussie to come up to you with some very choice words. Anyway, no anecdote needed. It's an obvious one, don't do it. Number 8, invade someone else's space. Now, summer holidays, school holidays, everyone's hitting the beach in Australia. These places can get particularly busy, especially the main beach in Noosa. But if you set your towel right next to somebody's face, you can smell their aftershave, you can read the words from inside the pages of their book. You're probably a little bit too close. And you'd think this was common sense, but you see a lot of tourists thinking, it's the beach, we've all got to get a spot. What harm is there done? So there's a very simple test you can do. I call it the Sammy Ford rule. Feel free to use it. If you can smell someone's sunscreen, ooh, they've got some coconut sunscreen on, you're too close. Right, number 9 is one that British people especially need to hear. Don't play loud music on the beach. You've got your new Bluetooth speaker from JB Hi-Fi. Oh, I'm proud of you, mate. It adds to the atmosphere, you say? You've got great music taste. Well, Aussies would highly disagree. The beach vibe in Australia is relaxed, okay? A strong sense of community because you're not getting on anyone's nerves. And that lovely atmosphere gets killed immediately if you start blaring your dubstep from your super powerful Bluetooth speaker. And if you're an Aussie watching this, you'll be surprised to hear that in the UK, this is so common, not just in the beaches, but in the high streets of our towns, in parks. People will have Bluetooth speakers and they'll be blaring music. So the beach isn't a festival as much as you might want it to be. Everyone came to hear the waves and the odd seagull stealing someone's chippies, not your playlist. Anyway, number 10, don't feed the seagulls. Now, if you're a Brit like me, when I first moved to Australia, I thought, gosh, those seagulls are cute. They are smaller, they look more clean somehow, and their little flippers, their little feet, are so much more vibrant and orange. I thought, wow, these are some healthy, friendly seagulls. The Australian reality, they're still just as ravenous for your chippies, your sandwich, your lovely burger that you got from Grilled. The orange feet are a trap. They'll do that little pitter patter on the sand and you'll think, oh, you are well cute, mate. And then before you know it, your lunch is gone. So I know it's tempting, but I'm telling you, one chip and you will be swarmed. And the last two, if you're coming to the beach with your mates, pay close attention to these. Number 11, never play ball games next to someone's face. Right, I know this sounds like common sense, but I've seen this so much in Australia. Tourists have their little like paddles with the balls and like they'll have a football and things like that. And they'll just edge closer and closer to like a family with kids. And the parents are looking concerned. Everyone else on the beach is looking concerned because you know that that person who thinks he's Ronaldo right now, one wrong move and that football is going to hit someone. So the British assumption is it's a big beach. There's plenty of room for a kickabout. It's very true. So just find a really big open space. Just walk a little bit further down the beach where it's a bit quieter, and then also, you're not going to offend anyone. And finally, number 12, it's not just annoying. This is so dangerous. Never jet ski on a busy day. British assumption is jet skis look fun. Oh my gosh, the beaches are massive here. Let's go jet skiing. Especially as some places you can hire them out. You get quite a lot of freedom with them. In fact, you'll see parked along some of the suburban streets in Brisbane, lots of people who own their own jet skis. Maybe you've got an Aussie mate who lends you one. Cool. Whereas the Aussie reality is that a packed beach full of swimmers and surfers is an absolute safety hazard if you want to zoom around on your jet ski. And honestly, if it's something you're doing on a busy day with loads of swimmers, expect the lifeguards to come have a little chat with you. I get it, they look absolutely incredible. You'll see people going down Brisbane River on them and it's absolutely sick. So save it for a quiet spot or a proper jet ski hire experience where they, you know, maybe they've roped off an area or they take you on a little tour or something. But honestly, this only scrapes the surface of the amount of rules I wasn't aware of when I first moved here. So if you want to find out 10 more that apply to the entire country, click this video here. I'll see you over there, and thanks for watching to the end. Bye.